First, I want to start off giving all praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash, for allowing me to bring out this information and doing this video. This video is concerning the truth about Martin Luther King being put to death. As far as the information that's being presented in this video that I'm about to play, that he really didn't die on the balcony when he was shot, but he actually was killed in the hospital, as they're about to pretty much bring out. And, one thing about the truth, I'll coin this phrase, one of the Akim in this camp, pretty much, liking the truth. The truth is pretty much like shit because you can try to hold it back for so long, but eventually it has to come out, you know? So, it's just all these things is being brought to light because the shame of you Edomites, you red Hebrew Edomites, is being revealed, according to prophecy. In light of all the things that, you tried to hold back or try to keep a secret.
So like I said, I spoke to Dr. Pepper earlier today. Here's what he had to say about the way Dr. Martin Luther King was actually killed.
Wow. He wasn't killed from the bullet that hit him on the balcony. He was taken to the St. Joseph's Hospital, and he was killed in the emergency room of St. Joseph's Hospital by the chief of neurosurgery, Dr. Breed Bland, who came in when they were all working on him in the emergency room, and he said, "Get out of here, let that die." And as they moved out of the room, the last one out was a surgical nurse, Lula Mae Shelby. And when she heard them gathering up spit in their lungs to spit on Martin's body lying on a bed there, then she saw Dr. Bland take the catheters out of Martin's body and take the pillow from under his head and put it over his face and suffocate him. And that's how Martin King died. That's how he was really assassinated. Now, he might have died anyway from the bullet wounds, but he didn't. He was still alive and still breathing. The chief neurosurgeon, he intervened and he made sure that death would result. Wow.
Right? My jaw was on the floor. Now, Dr. Pepper knows this because the son of the nurse, Lula Mae Shelby, who died, but before she died told her family, the son of this nurse told Dr. Pepper under oath. And when Dr. Pepper confronted a member of the Dixie Mafia, he said, yes, this happened, and actually that the chief of surgery was their family doctor, and that 3 weeks before the assassination, he visited them and said, hey, if the bullet doesn't kill him, make sure he goes to St. Joseph's, because we will make sure that he dies. Now, let's talk about this case, okay? This was a civil suit in 1999 where Pepper represented the King family, and that really made the family feel like they had closure, and like I said, it was the only trial ever held. The Memphis jury in this case decided that local, state, and federal governments were liable for King's death, and that this was a real conspiracy, a conspiracy between the U.S. military, the Memphis PD, and Dixie Mafia, these crime figures in Memphis, Tennessee.
This is just for the audience.
Right.
This is a civil case that was brought, much like the OJ case,
right, where
they couldn't find him guilty here, but finally when a civil jury heard it, they came out with a
the only trial, yes, and there was 30 days of trial, and over 70 witnesses were heard. And Dr. Pepper told me earlier today that it took the jury jury less than an hour to decide after these 30 days
that
of
this was a
trial.
true conspiracy.
Correct.
Where others may have been involved.
Correct.
Other than the person who was accused.
And that James Earl Ray was the fall man, and that he was unwittingly, unknowingly part of this conspiracy. And the real shooter, I gotta say this, even though we can't get to the whole story, was Frank Strouser. He was a Memphis police officer, the best shot in the Memphis PD, and he was the one who actually fired the fatal shot.
All right, so there you have it. This was entirely a conspiracy set up by you red Hebrew Edomites, the devil, that the Bible speaks of, which ultimately it was set up by the Most High anyway, and y'all even framed a Jake, James Earl Ray, to take the fall for it at the same time, showing that your works testify of you being the devil that the Bible speaks of. Okay. Which ultimately, MLK, Martin Luther King was not a prophet as far as being one of the chosen men of the Lord. So ultimately he had this, coming to him, because the Most High wasn't dealing with him, and ultimately he led our people astray and wanted to be further integrated into the society and integrated with these Edomites, which are our enemies, as well as the rest of the heathen and the other nations. All right. So I'm gonna start off with Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, because for one, we're not even supposed to be, amongst these other nations in hopes of trying to be equal with them, because we are princes of the Most High. So we're really above these other nations, including the red Hebrew Edomite who proclaims himself as being white, who's in rulership right now, who rules in wickedness under Satan, all right? Because he's the children of Satan, okay? This is Deuteronomy 7:1. When the Lord Yahweh thy power shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, that land talking about the land of Israel, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord Yahweh thy power shall deliver them before thee, Salakia, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. And, at the fall of Esau's rulership, the Most High is going to put the spirit on his elect men and give them spiritual powers to pretty much slaughter many of you Edomites, and we're gonna put you in chains, and y'all gonna be slaves to build the kingdom of heaven. All right. But this was a commandment that the Lord gave us to not make any covenants or any agreements with these other nations, because we're not to be joined unto them. It says, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto a son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Which, a lot of our people, still do to this day, because they want to have some kind of status or enlighten their affliction being in this captivity. So, you see the women of our nation, being joined with the Edomite men, and also Jake Man does it for the same reason, and getting with the so-called white woman, For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods so will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. All right, because ultimately being joined unto these heathens, it takes us away from our customs and our worship of the Heavenly Father, because ultimately they're going to sway you to following after their gods and going after their ways. All right. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. All right. And one of the ways that we're doing that now is through the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai being out there prophesying. We're coming against the false image of Christianity, which is a red Edomite Jesus, you know, and telling the true likeness and image of Yahweh Shai, who is the Son of the Heavenly Father, you know, that he will be a melanated, dark-skinned, so-called black man, which really there's no such thing as actual so-called black man, because we're all shades of brown, you know. It says, "For thou art an holy people unto the Lord Yahweh thy power. The Lord thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth." So the Most High called us to be a holy and separate nation, and we're above all the rest of the nations on the earth, including the red Hebrew Edomite who proclaims himself as white. You know, even though they pretty much cast us down as a nation and wanted to basically make it seem like we're inferior, but we're really superior to them, you know? And, you know, we're above them. All right. So as far as this whole I have a dream thing, as far as the whole civil rights struggle that Martin Luther King stood for, really, it didn't profit us as a people because we're still in subjection to Esau to this day. All right. This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 48. You know, this is highlighting the curses that our people would go through as far as, you know, breaking the law, statutes, and commandments while we inhabited the land of Israel and wherever we may be on the earth. And because our people broke these law, statutes, and commandments, you know, the Most High, you know, put curses upon us. He scattered us into all nations. And one of the ways we can know by prophecy that this fits us is that we went into captivity, you know, being brought to the Americas by slave ships. All right. As you can read in the 68th verse, but I'm going to read the 48th verse, and it says, "Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things." All right. So everything that we need, we got to go to these Edomites for. You know, you need money to survive. You got to work for these Edomites. You know, even if you start your own business, guess what? The money that you're using, the money or currency that you use to get around in this society, whose face is on that currency? These Edomites. All right. You know, everything that I mean, every thing that you need as far as necessities, you got to go to the so-called white man for. You know, and just because Martin Luther King, you know, struggled for civil rights, you know, that doesn't take away from this curse at all, you know. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. All right. And that's exactly what they did when they had us in hardcore slavery. They put yokes around our necks, They broke the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native. You know, broke us down mentally and spiritually, and put us in further subjection onto them. All right. It says, "The Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young." All right. So that's exactly what happened. As far as these devils, they came to this land and conquered the Native Americans, and they gathered you so-called Negroes and brought you over here in slave ships. All right. And they didn't show favor to the young or old, male or female. All right, this is Jeremiah 23, starting at 1. "Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord Yahweh." All right, and what was Dr. King? He was a Baptist preacher, so he was a false prophet, and he's basically scattered, you Israelites, and following after the vision of this dream that he proclaimed, being joined hand in hand with these red Hebrew Edomites. It says, "Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, the power of Israel, against the pastors that feed my people, ye have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, saith the Lord Yahweh." And thus, uh, he was, put to death. Not only was he shot, but he ended up being put to death at the hospital. These Edomites wanted to make sure that they had finished the job. "And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase." And that's what's getting ready to happen. Most High is gathering the remnant of us out of every place that he scattered us all over the earth, and that's how we're gonna be brought back and inhabit the land of Israel, once he brings about our salvation out of this captivity, which also shows and demonstrates that those fake Jews that's over in our land right now, they're not the real Jews. "And I will set up shepherds over them which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, saith the Lord." All right. So right now, the Most High is setting up his true shepherds over the flock to feed you the truth concerning the gospel, concerning his will, for our nation, and we're no longer going to be lacking because these promises that are given to us, which is the receiving the kingdom of heaven and all the benefits that come with that. It says, "Behold, the day is come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, which that branch represents Yahweh Shai, our Lord. And the king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth." Which that's ultimately what he's coming back to do, is set up his judgment and his throne in the earth, and to put down, these red Hebrew Edomites out of rulership. In his days, Judah shall be saved. Judah represents the southern kingdom, which represents Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, you so-called Negroes, and Israel, alluding to all of Israel as a whole, including the northern kingdom, which is you Latin tribes, shall dwell safely, and this his name whereby he shall be called the Lord our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that they shall no more say, the Lord liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Alluding to, because that word Egypt really is the Greek term for, or the Greek name for the land of Mizraim that we were first held in captivity. So the saying that pretty much is not going to be spoken no more as far as the deliverance of that captivity, because this deliverance that we're going to receive coming out of the Americas and out of the four corners of the earth is going to far supersede that, because the Lord is going to send his chariots, which is those UFOs, to actually beam the remnant of his chosen out of this destruction. It says, but the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel. Salaki, let me read that again. But the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. All right. Salaki, got ads popping up. All right, so the seed of Israel is led into the north country, alluding to, North America, and we're going to be delivered from all the countries, that we were scattered in. This is Jeremiah 23:16. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, hearken not unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you. They make you vain. They speak a vision of their own heart. And that's ultimately what that I have a dream speech, was about. That was a vision of Martin Luther King's own heart, but not the will of the Father, because we weren't brought over here as a nation to be prosperous and to be joined onto Esau as far as having the prosperity of this kingdom of this world. We were subjected under these devils for our punishment, and not out of the mouth of the Lord. They say still unto them that despise me, the Lord hath said, ye shall have peace. And they say unto every one that walketh after the imagination of his own heart, no evil shall come upon you. All right. So, as far as that whole I have a dream speech, it wasn't going to be set up to where, these devils wasn't going to continue to rule over us with violence and with hatred, as they still do to this day, For who hath said in the counsel of the Lord, and hath perceived and heard his word, who hath marked his word and heard it? Behold, a whirlwind of the Lord is going forth in fury, even a grievous whirlwind. It shall grievously fall upon the head of the wicked. All right. And that's getting ready to happen. All right, okay? Because we're at the end of Esau, the red Hebrew Edomite, which is the son of perdition's rulership. And also is getting ready to take him out of the way. This is Jeremiah 23:25. I have heard what the prophets said that prophesy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed, I have dreamed. Okay? And, we always bring this precept out, especially, because it fits. You know, that's the whole act that Martin Luther King was famous for, was that "I have a dream" speech. Okay, so let's see what the scriptures say about following after dreams. This is Ecclesiasticus 34:1. It says, "The hopes of a man void of understanding are vain and false." All right, because that hope that Martin Luther King had was void of the understanding of the scriptures. As far as wanting to be joined hand in hand with Esau, who is our enemy, who is the enemy of the Most High, because Martin Luther King didn't know about the so-called white man being Esau, you know, and he didn't know that our people are the Israelites, and by prophecy we were put in this predicament under the Most High. It says, "Whoso regardeth dreams is like him that catcheth a shadow and followeth after the wind." All right. So really, it's a vain thing to follow after dreams and divinations. And that whole "I have a dream" speech was a form of divination. A form of witchcraft. It says, "The vision of dreams is the resemblance of one thing to another, even as the likeness of a face to a face." So basically, that whole I have a dream" speech was, vision of what was in Martin Luther King's heart, as far as what he wanted to be followed, as far as being joined in hand with Esau, which was not the will of the Lord, which was why he was put to death. All right. All right, so continuing off at Jeremiah 23:26, it says, "How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets that prophesy lies? Yeah, they are prophets of the deceit of their own heart." All right, "which think to cause my people to forget my name by their dreams, which they tell every man to his neighbor, as their fathers have forgotten my name for Baal." All right, and really, by wanting to follow after being integrated further into society and want to be joined with Esau, it caused a lot of you Jakes to pretty much shun the truth, because a lot of you Jakes want to say, "Oh, well, I got white friends, Oh, the white man's not my devil," so to speak. Like that nigga polite, It says, "The prophet that have dreamed a dream, let him tell a dream. And he that hath my word, let him speak my word faithfully. As a shaft to the wheat, saith the Lord." All right. So really, we're only supposed to be focused on the word and the vision that the Most High proclaimed through his word, that he revealed unto his servants, the prophets, the real prophets that speak his word faithfully and in truth. All right. "What is the shaft to the wheat, saith the Lord?" All right. Because pursuant to Amos, the 9th chapter, I want to say around the 10th verse, he's going to separate the chaff from the wheat, which represents, the 2/3 being separated from the remnant, or the 1/3, which represents the wheat. All right. Is not my word like as a fire, saith the Lord, and like a hammer that breaketh the rock in pieces? Therefore, behold, I am against the prophets, saith the Lord Yahweh, that steal my words, everyone from his neighbor. Behold, I am against the prophets, saith the Lord, that use their tongues and say, He saith. All right, because this wasn't something that the Most High instructed. Well, basically, he instructed Martin Luther King on the left hand side to do this, but it isn't done according to the righteousness, according to His will. As far as our people being set up in our own land and our own kingdom being in rulership. All right. It says, Behold, I am against them that prophesy false dreams, saith the Lord Yahweh, and do tell them, and cause my people to err by their lies, and by their lightness. Yet I sent them not, nor commanded them. Therefore they shall not profit this people at all, saith the Lord. All right. And, the words that Martin Luther King spoke, and as far as the legislation and everything that was passed after that, didn't profit our people. We're still on the bottom. We're still, in subjection to these Edomites, and really things became progressively worse, for Jake as a whole, single parent households, drugs in our communities, still the last hired and first fired, still being put to death in the streets unjustly by these police officers. So really it didn't profit us. This is Deuteronomy 13:1. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and giveth thee a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, whereof he spake unto thee, saying, Let us go after other gods, which thou hast not known, and let us serve them. All right. And one of the gods that pretty much you can say this devil Martin Luther King wanted us to follow is a so-called white man who was the god of this world. It says, Thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for the Lord Yahweh your God proveth you to know whether you love the Lord your power with all your heart and with all your soul. Ye shall walk after the Lord Yahweh your power, and fear him, and keep his commandments, and obey his voice, and ye shall serve him, and cleave unto him. All right, that's one way, as far as like, not wanting to be joined onto, these Edomites, as far as one, the knowledge, the riches of this kingdom, or the riches of this world, and that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he hath spoken to turn you away from the Lord Yahweh your power, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to thrust you out of the way, which the Lord Yahweh your power commanded you to walk in. So shalt thou put the evil away from the midst of thee. Okay. And one of the ways that he caused, our people to err is one to basically walk in the ways of these Edomites by being further integrated, in this society, And ultimately, as far as the reason why, we're in the current condition that we're in is because ultimately prophecy had to be fulfilled as far as these red Hebrew Edomites being in rulership. And really, it's only going to be a short rulership for this so-called white man, to be in rulership and in power. But really, his he's living out his blessing that he received from Isaac, which was our forefather. Okay, because Esau is a brother of Jacob, who was our forefather, whose name was changed to Israel. Okay, so this is Romans 9 and 10, and not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of the Most High according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. All right, so the Most High already had it set for, Jacob to receive the blessing of the kingdom of heaven before Jacob and Esau was born. All right. But Esau was set up to be in rulership through the force of the sword, That's why, this devil is proud, because he thinks that since he has the his military and these ICBM missiles, that he can't be brought down. But the Most High is about to get ready to bring Esau's entire power structure down. It says, "It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger." All right. And who was born first? Esau was born first, which would make him the elder over Jacob. All right. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. All right. So you 12 tribes, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and natives, you are beloved of the Most High. All right. And Most High hates Esau and is going to visit all the iniquities that Esau has done to the children of Israel. Okay. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with the Most High? God forbid. All right. Because just because the Most High created a people that he hates, Most High can do whatever he wants. This is his movie playing out. It's because going all the way back to the beginning with Abel and Cain, that was the course of the righteous against the wicked playing out on the earth, the same way as it is with Jacob and Esau. For he said to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of the Most High that showeth mercy. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. So just as our people was in subjection and captivity under the old Pharaoh, well, Most High raised up Esau, who would be the new Pharaoh of this Egypt, to show and demonstrate his power in bringing him down. Says, therefore have he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will he hardeneth. Thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against the Most High? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? All right, because pretty much the Most High already set up every man's role, every person's role on the planet as to what they're going to play and what it's going to be for them. And it's no different than these Edomites, and there ain't no good so-called Edom, so-called white man on the planet. All right, they're all were created to be the wicked and the devil that the Bible speaks of. It says, hath not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? All right. So you Negroes, Latinos, and natives, you Israelites, we're made to be the vessels of honor unto the Most High, while Esau and the other nations were made to be vessels of dishonor. It says, what if the Most High, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. All right. And, he already has the kingdom of heaven, set up for us, as far as all the riches that we're gonna receive in the kingdom of heaven. Okay. But our prosperity, the hell that we going through on this side, you know, is not gonna be received on this side because we're here for our punishment. So, Salaki, I know it's kind of long winded or whatnot, but I just figured I'd go into this, lesson. But with that, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash, and salutations to you Akim out there laboring in the faith, and double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. And with that, I say Shalom.